Coming in at number 5, Hill of Crosses in Lithuania. Located in Lithuania, the Hill of Crosses is a site of pilgrimage about 12 kilometers north of the city of Šiauliai. Now, the precise origin of the crosses is unknown, but it is believed that the first crosses were placed on the former Damonte Hill fort after the 1831 uprising. The uprising was of course known as the Polish-Russian War and was an armed rebellion in the heartland of partitioned Poland against the Russian Empire. Ever since then, not only crosses and crucifixes but also statues of the Virgin Mary have appeared on the Hill of Crosses, as well as carvings of Lithuanian patriots, and thousands upon thousands of tiny effigies and rosaries have been brought here by Catholic pilgrims. Now, as you would expect, the exact number of all these items is unknown, but it is estimated to range between 50,000 to 100,000. Over the years, the place has come to signify the peaceful endurance of Lithuanian Catholicism, despite the threats it faced throughout history. Throughout history, the Hill of Crosses has been used as a place for Lithuanians to pray for peace for their country and for the loved ones they had lost during the wars of independence. The hill eventually became a place of defiance once again during Soviet occupation from 1944 to 1991. The hill and crosses were bulldozed by Soviets 3 times, but locals kept rebuilding it. So sweet. In at number 4, Myrtles Plantation, USA. The Myrtles Plantation is a historic home and former antebellum plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana. Built in 1976, it is considered to be one of America's most haunted homes, with a variety of legends surrounding the plantation. Now, one of the reasons Myrtles is believed to be so damn haunted is because it is rumored to be on top of an ancient Tunica Indian burial ground. As of right now, it is currently a bed and breakfast and offers historical and mystery tours. As I previously mentioned though, it is considered to be one of the most haunted homes in the United States, with it rumored to be home to at least 12 ghosts, and is often reported that 10 murders occurred in the house, but historical records only indicate the murder of 1, William Winter. William Drew Winter is also a very popular character in the plantation. He was an attorney who lived in the home before being shot by a stranger. It has been said that after he was shot, he staggered inside the home and died trying to climb the stairs. He died on the 17th step. Even today, visitors still claim to hear his dying footsteps. Coming in at number 3, Battleship Island, Nagasaki, Japan. Also known as Hashima Island, this is the abandoned island nearby the city of Nagasaki in southern Japan, and is one of 505 uninhabited islands in Nagasaki Prefecture. In the 1950s, it was a bustling place, home to thousands of coal mine workers and families. However, ever since the coal mine shut down in 1974, it has remained abandoned. As petroleum replaced coal in Japan in the 1960s, coal mines began to close across the country, with Mitsubishi officially closing the mine in January 1974, and the island was completely cleared by April of the same year. Today, its most notable features are the abandoned and still mostly intact apartment buildings, the surrounding sea walls, and its distinctive profile shape. In 2009, Japan requested to include Hashima Island along with 22 other industrial sites in the UNESCO World Heritage Site list, which was initially opposed by South Korean authorities on the grounds that Korean and Chinese forced laborers were used on the island prior and during World War II. Although Hashima was entirely closed off until 2009, travelers are now allowed to visit, with it being recognized by UNESCO in 2015. You may also recognize the site from the big screen, with it serving as the secret headquarters of Bond villain Raoul Silver in the 2012 movie Skyfall. In at 2, Lizzie Borden's house, Fall River, Massachusetts. Now, for those who don't know, the Lizzie Borden house is where Lizzie Borden and her family lived, and is located on 230 2nd Street in the city of Fall River, Massachusetts. Born Lizzie Andrew Borden, sucks for her, she was an American woman who was the main suspect in the August 4th, 1892 axe murders of her father and stepmother. However, Borden was tried and ultimately acquitted of the murders. The case received widespread newspaper coverage throughout the United States, and following her release from jail, where she was held during the trial, Borden chose to remain in the house her parents had been killed in, despite being ostracized by her other residents. Now, because the Commonwealth of Massachusetts elected to not charge anyone with the murder that occurred over 127 years ago, a ton of speculation about the crimes have continued on. Now, Lizzie spent the rest of her life in the home up until her death at age 66, just days before the death of her sister Emma. The house is been operated as a bed and breakfast since 1996 under the ownership of Martha McGinn, who inherited the home. According to Martha McGinn, the room where Lizzie's stepmother Abby Borden was found murdered is the most requested room at the bed and breakfast. Guests who stay, not just in Abby's room but in the home as a whole, have reported all manners of strange sightings in the home. Would you dare stay there? I would. I'd stay in every room. And finally, coming in at number 1, Chernobyl Pripyat, Ukraine. Pripyat is a ghost city in northern Ukraine named after the nearby Pripyat River and was founded on February 4th, 1970 as the 9th nuclear city in the Soviet Union to serve the nearby Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The city was officially proclaimed in 1979 and had grown to a population of 49,360 by the time it was evacuated on April 27th, 1986, the day after the Chernobyl disaster. Now, the Chernobyl disaster was a nuclear disaster which occurred on April 26, 1986 at the nuclear power plant not far from Pripyat, and was considered to be the worst nuclear disaster in history, and is also one of the only 2 nuclear energy disasters rated at 7, the maximum severity on the International Nuclear Event Scale, the other being the 2011 Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster in Japan. Ever since the nuclear disaster in Pripyat, the city has remained entirely uninhabited since the evacuation, although the buildings, furniture and all other signs of life are exactly where the former citizens left them. It is a city frozen in time, plates still out, dolls left on beds, and even a haunting fairground ride waiting to be used. Weathered books can be found in classrooms and abandoned photographs are still hanging on walls in their original frames. There are strict rules regarding the site considering the sheer amount of radiation in the area. However, following the airing of HBO's Chernobyl series, Ukraine's government have announced that the site will become an official tourist attraction. Will you be checking it out? I personally don't want to die, so I won't. In at 5, Danical Desert. Danical Desert, located in Ethiopia, is one of the hottest and driest places on the entire planet, with scorching heat that cracks the land and causes migraines and moisture to be sucked from your mouth and eyes. Yeah, this is no place you would ever want to take a trip to. The area is located in the Afar region of northeast Ethiopia, with the climate being described as cruel. However, you will be surprised to know that people do in fact live there and call it home. The Danical Depression is perhaps the hottest place on Earth, with the average year-round temperature reported to be 34.4 degrees Celsius. Making it worse, it only receives 100 to 200 millimeters of rainfall per year, and is one of the lowest places on the entire planet, placing it at 410 feet below sea level. These factors combined, it makes it perhaps one of the most inhospitable environments in the entire world. The weather wasn't enough, the land also houses the lava lake, which is a result of the Ertaale, an active volcano. The lake is one of only 6 on Earth. People have described the site as something from another planet. There are volcanoes, bubbling lava lakes, multicolored hydrothermal fields, and great salt pans that dazzle the eyes. Yep, it's not the most ideal holiday destination, that's for sure. Coming in at 4, Casa Loma. A legend from my neck of the woods comes the haunting tales of Casa Loma in Toronto, Ontario. Built in 1914, this Gothic-style mansion is now an historic house, museum and landmark. It was originally constructed as a residence for financier Sir Henry Pellet, but has since become a popular tourist attraction and hot filming spot for movies and television. However, the mansion holds many secrets, from strange apparitions to eerie voices. Casa Loma has its fair share of ghost stories that haunt it, to the point that the castle even offers ghost tours led by Canada's Most Haunted. Many people over the years have reported ghostly apparitions around the grounds and the castle, including that of a man tending to the garden in the indoor conservatory, or even the sound of children's voices when no children are around. However, the most common occurrence is the White Lady, who is known to appear on the 2nd floor as well as the basement of the castle. I quote, "The White Lady is someone we believe to be a maid who worked here in the early 1900s, around the time when about 60,000 people died of influenza. She's been seen in a lot of places by guests or by cleaning or cafeteria staff, as they've been cleaning at the end of the day." Some people have also reported sightings of the former owner, Sir Henry Pellet, and his wife, Lady Mary Pellet, who mediums believe are not trapped on the grounds but are choosing to be there, after they were ousted from their home when they were unable to keep up with the costs. There are also tunnels located on the grounds that lead to the stables, where another notorious ghost is believed to roam, with many people reported feeling someone grab them or pull their hair while in the tunnel. In at 3, Hanging Coffins of Sagada, Philippines. In Sagada, Philippines, if you wish to visit the dead, it's quite the difficult task, considering you have to look up as opposed to 6 feet under. Yep, that's right, the people of the region aren't buried but are instead placed in coffins that are attached to the sides of cliffs, hundreds of feet in the air. The bizarre tradition goes back thousands of years, with people carving out their own coffins before their death and then are ultimately hoisted up next to their ancestors. Now, it has been said that the hanging coffins are a means of preventing bodies from being taken by beasts, as well as to bless the soul eternally. The Bo people of southern China viewed the mountain cliffs as a stairway to heaven and believed that by placing the coffins up high, the deceased would be closer to heaven. Another theory is that having the coffins placed so high is to prevent animals from being able to reach them. You can find hanging coffins not only in Sagada but also in Donglan County and Yingtan City. Coming in at 2, Belitz-Hillstatten Hospital. Belitz-Hillstatten may look to you like an old and disturbing hospital, and guess what? That's because it is. From 1898 to 1930, this hospital served as a tuberculosis sanatorium that also housed victims of World War I that were injured by guns or mustard gas. Its most famous patient, however, was a young German soldier named Adolf Hitler, who had been injured in the leg during the war. During the Second World War, the hospital went on to be a major treatment center for Nazi soldiers, and it was also used as a Soviet military hospital from 1945 up until the fall of the Berlin Wall. Now, as of today, the majority of the hospital is abandoned. However, a handful of the wards are used as a neurological rehabilitation center. The parts that are abandoned have given way to nature and vandals, making the place look like something straight out of a horror movie. Definitely not somewhere you would want to visit on vacation. And finally, coming in at number 1, Capuchin Catacombs, Sicily, Italy. In Sicily, you can find one of the many catacombs that are located around the world, from Salzburg to Paris, but the Capuchin catacombs certainly take the cake. The macabre space was created all the way back in the late 16th century when the cemetery at the Capuchin monastery became overrun. Prior to this, religious men were originally supposed to be the exclusive residents of the catacombs before it became a free-for-all, after word got out about the natural mummification processes occurring in the space, making it a symbol for local citizens to earn a final resting spot there. As of today, the catacombs now contain around 8,000 bodies that have been divided into separate corridors, including one for religious figures, one for professional men, one for children, and even one for virgins. Good for you, virgins. In at 5, North Youngest Road, Bolivia. The Youngest Road is a cycle route about 60 kilometers long, linking the city of La Paz and the youngest region of Bolivia. It was built back in the 1930s, and due to its steep slopes, narrow single track, and the lack of guardrails, the road was considered too dangerous and is considered to be one of the most dangerous places in the world. The North Youngest Road weaves through the Amazon rainforest at a height of more than 15,000 feet. When you consider that fact, as well as the 12-foot wide single lane, you can understand why the stretch of highway has earned the nickname the Death Road. The North Youngest Road used to see 200 to 300 annual deaths. However, it has become more of a destination for adventurous mountain bikers, with the amount of deaths per year slowly declining. That fact aside, would you ever dare travel along North Youngest Road? You let me know. In at 4, Nagoro, Japan. In Nagoro, Japan, there is a tiny Japanese village with a very notable feature: a life-size doll population that heavily outnumbers the human population by 100 to 1. This bizarre trend began thanks to local toy maker Tsukimi Ayano, who returned home to a small village and faced crippling loneliness after discovering most of the residents had moved away or died, resulting in her populating the village with life-size dolls as replicas of her former neighbors. Very creepy. You can find these creepy doppelgangers across the village in various positions, from fishermen sitting on riverbanks, students in classrooms, and elderly couples resting on benches. The dolls are made of straw, and every single one of them is located in the place where she would resemble that person. At the time of this recording, there are around 350 dolls and fewer than 40 living humans in Nagoro, making it an incredibly quirky but terrifying place to visit. In at 3, Ancient Ram Inn. The Ancient Ram Inn is located in the village of Under Edge in Gloucestershire, England, and many folks out there believe it to be one of the most haunted buildings in the country, perhaps even the world. The inn was first built in 1445 and was used by priests who used it to house slave workers who helped construct the St. Mary Church. The land where the inn is built on the intersection of 2 ley lines, which are places that people believe to have high spiritual energy. If you trace the lines, you can follow them all the way through the centre of Stonehenge, and according to many, Stonehenge has energy which travels through the ley lines to feed the paranormal power found in the inn. There are numerous legends and tales about the ancient Ramin, but perhaps the most popular is that of the witch burned at the stake in the 1500s. She was burned for not believing or practicing Christianity, which was sanctioned by the government at the time. And a lot of folks now believe that her spirit haunts one of the rooms of the inn that she supposedly took refuge in before she was captured and killed. Today, that room is called the Witch's Room. Would you dare stay a night in the room? In at 2, Snake Island. Now this is truly my worst nightmare. The research for this was truly painful to say the least. There are some truly breathtaking places in Brazil, with one in particular located 90 miles off of the coast of Sao Paulo, seemingly being one of those places. However, most would never dream of going there as it's infested with between 2,000 and 4,000 golden lancehead vipers, one of the deadliest snakes in the entire world. The venom from these snakes can kill a person in under an hour, with terrifying stories hailing from the island. Supposedly, a fisherman who landed on the island in search of bananas was discovered days later in his boat, dead in a pool of blood, with snake bites covering his body. No thank you. Some people claim that snakes were put on the island by pirates in order to protect their gold. However, the truth is that the island's population of snakes evolved over thousands of years without human intervention. 11,000 years ago, the sea levels rose enough to isolate the island, which caused the snakes to evolve on a different path than ones we would find on any mainland. Due to the lack of ground-level predators, the snakes were able to reproduce rapidly, with them evolving incredibly potent and efficient venom, which is reported to be 3 to 5 times stronger than any mainland snakes. Yep, would you dare go to Snake Island? Your answer should always be no. And finally, coming in at number 1, the door to hell. The Darvaza gas crater is perhaps one of the most haunting images to look at, and the closest thing to the gates of hell we're ever going to see, depending on what you believe in. Also known as the Crater of Fire, there are thousands of images online displaying the fires erupting in the middle of the desert. It's bewitching, but incredibly deadly. So, backstory. In 1971, in the Danical Desert, Soviet geologists began to drill into a cavern filled with natural gas. During this time, a horrible accident occurred and equipment and transport fell down deep into the hole. Thankfully, no one was injured, however there was gas coming out of the hole. The team of course feared that the hole would release some kind of poisonous gases, so they opted to burn it off. However, this didn't go according to plan as the flames never died out. In 2004, the Turkmenistan president issued an order for the Darvaza village to be moved for safety reasons, and the fire still burns to this day, with no one quite knowing when or if it will ever burn out. Of course, the large burning hole has drawn in thousands of tourists from across the globe, and gazing upon it is truly eerie to say the least. A large flaming hole with nothing but desert surrounding it, it is truly like the gates of hell. Would you guys check it out?